So when we think about ground up development, that makes sense, right? You've got exact numbers you spent on the property, you know exactly where your numbers are at. But from a value add perspective, let's say you buy the property for $1 million, and let's say you put another $1 million into the property in different ways. What does that scenario look like from a cost segregation perspective? Or are they just two completely things? Like, hey, just from a purchase perspective, and then you handle the improvement, capital improvements, et cetera, separately.
It can actually be done in two different stages. So you're going to do the cost segregation on the property once you purchase it. And so you can take those components, depreciate them. As long as you're placing it in service, meaning as long as you're renting it out between the time that you've bought the property and the time that you begin the renovations. There are certainly examples where you're buying a property and gutting it and never renting it out, getting it all ready to go. And then once it's ready to go, then putting it on the market or then renting it out. So these are two completely different scenarios in how cost segregation will apply. In the first case, where you're renting it out, and then at a later point, you want to do some value add, or in many cases, like the properties that I'm investing in, for example, it may be a huge 100, 200 unit apartment building. You're going to be doing value add in stages. You're going to renovate the units as they become vacant. Okay, so the property is always going to be placed in service, and so it's always going to be rented out. And so in that case, you can do the cost segregation in two stages. One, on the acquisition, and break down everything that's in it, take those depreciation deductions and get the bonus depreciation like we mentioned before. And then once you've completed the renovations, however much money was spent on that capital improvements, the value add, whatever you want to call it, that money can now be added to your tax basis, be added to your depreciation schedule, and be cost segregated. So we're not going to redo the entire property at that point. All we're going to do is just add on those components that were added to the property.